Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining this JNUC 2021 and joining my session called Stitching Together Your Apple Environment. My name is Frederick, and I work as an IT support specialist here at Daniel Wellington. And I will be joined today by my great colleague, Oscar, who's going to talk a little bit about retail in this presentation. And for those of you who don't know about our company, we are a watch and accessories brand from Sweden, based in Stockholm. We can be found in over 100 countries across the world, and we have offices ranging from New York to Mumbai to Shenzhen in China. And a quick note about myself before we start the actual presentation is that my name is Frederick. I was born and raised in Stockholm, and I've been working with Apple products for the past 5 years. And up until about 2 years ago, I started with Jamf and really got into it. And at that point, my knowledge of coding and code in general was pretty much zero. And also my knowledge of MDM at that point was pretty much zero. So the agenda and the topic for today's session is sharing my journey with Daniel Wellington and how I built our Apple environment. And early on when I got this project, since my knowledge was pretty slim at the time of what was supposed to be done, I had to pretty early on create this agenda of what I was trying to accomplish here at Daniel Wellington. And at the first part I tried to solve was identifying our devices. What do we have? Where are they? I also try to figure out what the business actually need. What problems are we trying to solve? What is business critical? What is not business critical? And then also figuring out what does the business want? What does each department at this company want? What are their actual needs? And then moving on to taking it one step further, which is more of what I want to do with the system and what I want to do with the business. And as the first part was identifying the devices, I was trying to figure out what types of devices we have. It seemed we have a lot of iMacs, a lot of MacBooks, a lot of iPhones, a lot of iPads all over the place. And also they're located all over the globe. So early on in this project, I had to realize there were local limitations, different purchasing processes, local requirements, security, and the list goes on. So really, already at the start, it was pretty difficult figuring out what needed to be done. And also, I tried to figure out what does the business actually need? What are we trying to solve with this? And pretty early on, it was automated device enrollment. That's pretty self-explanatory. We need to authenticate who configures the device. And we also need a bit of branding, styling it up, DW style. And of course, a bunch of apps. And then also, what does the business actually want? As there's a difference between what they need and what they want. So I try to think big at this point. I always try to think going one step further, always trying to find something that can be tweaked or something that can be improved. And also talk to my colleagues and managers about this. Because one thing I noticed is once I started talking with every department, they had these grand ideas, these grand ideas of improvement to their workflows and how we can optimize their work environment. And also never forget my dear IT support colleagues as well, because they need tools and tricks of the trade to solve the everyday problems of the Mac and iPhone and iPad environment. So combining what the business actually need and what the business actually want led me to this conclusion that we are trying to build a manageable, scalable, zero-touch deployment process where we deploy all our apps, all our settings, and all of our workflows. And it had to be something that works globally every single day. And when the user gets the device, we try to start the journey pretty early on with a little bit of branding, and that's where the enrollment customization option comes in. It is a great tool to start the journey for the end user, where they get this little welcome message. We can authenticate who uses the device and start the process right there. Once they get into the actual operating system, early on I just noticed that the screen just stood there and stuff was being installed in the background. And the end user was pretty confused about what was going on with the actual computer. And lo and behold, on the Jamf Nation forum, we found DAP Notify, which is a great tool for just showing what's going on when stuff is being installed. And the good part about the tool is that it can lead the end user along the way when their device is being configured. So we can fill it with information about the apps that they have on the computer, the onboarding process we can start pretty early on, and also useful information about DW and our company and our values. And the good part about that is that they can follow along what's going on with their computer whilst they're being onboarded. Once they have everything installed, the next tool that truly changed on how we operate the Mac is self-service, because it is pretty much empowerment all the way. And the good part about self-service is we can fill it with every single app, every single option, every single function that we want the end user to be able to have at the tip of their fingers. And that means we have a catalog of apps, tools, and workflows that every user in our company can access without contacting IT, which solves a lot of problems. And then they can download new apps. We can give them the option to repair or reset applications. We can also give them basic troubleshooting tools, which solves everything from clearing the cache in the browser to resetting drivers or resetting, for instance, the NVRAM of the Mac. And also we can handle the macOS updates and upgrades through it as well, which is super helpful. And also, of course, admin permissions in case they need something that is a little bit out of scope. And once we've done this, we try to bring it all together again and see where we are and where we are going. And once again, I needed to analyze my environment one more time to make sure that now that we have the business critical elements in place, what can again be tweaked and optimized. And then we started thinking, what is the next step? And that is building our solutions around the apps that we use. And at DW, our primary suite of apps are Office 365. We're heavily invested in Teams, Outlook, and so on. Hence, the workflows that we build had to be built around these apps. And then, of course, communicate the findings with each team when you develop a solution or figure out something that can help you along the way. And one of the really cool things that we built was the combination of smart groups and webhooks. So early on in the process, we had these local notifications running on the Mac, which is super duper helpful. But there are users in our environment who are Windows users or Android users. And we needed something to bring all of the useful information from Jamf over to their devices as well. So I had the good fortune of having a great colleague who is great with Flow and Power Automate. And lo and behold, now we can tweak every single notification in Teams to our users, whatever device they are on. And that made that we can bring these two systems together and truly have them communicate in the best possible way. So that means that once something happens in Jamf, we can notify the right user or the right manager directly through our primary communications platform. And that means that we can notify them at the right time as well. And then we get also integrated with other workflows that we have running in Teams with Power Automate and Flow. And the key to all of this, as I mentioned earlier on in the process, is that once I started this with Jamf, I had pretty much zero knowledge of MDM or coding. But the great people at Jamf Nation was always there, because I noticed pretty early that it was always someone who experienced the same issue or the same concern or trying to build the same solution. And I was always able to find someone who was helpful enough to share their insight, their solution, or their thoughts. And that led me to really building this solution in this environment pretty quickly as well. But as many of you know, Daniel Wellington is a watch and accessories brand, meaning we have a large division of retail stores, about 400 over the entire world. And what are their needs? What do they need for their daily operation? They have iPad, they have iPhones, and they have their apps and points of sale system. And for a store, that should be pretty much it, right? No. So they need something else. And that leads me on to introducing my next colleague, Oscar, who I shared a coffee with and truly spawned something truly grateful.
Hi everyone, my name is Oscar Hammar and I work as a head of offline operations here at Daniel Wellington. Offline operations, however, sound so boring, so I would say I work in sales. And to give you a brief background on who I am, you could say that I've been working with sales throughout my whole life. It all started when I was 7 years old, when me and my brother went to all of our neighbors asking them if they had any donations of stuff they didn't need. Then when we had enough stuff, we went around again and sold our neighbors the things from the neighboring house. When I think of it today, we kind of invented a circular business model back in 1991, with extremely high profit margins. But to be honest, it was actually my older brother who was the genius behind this hustle and not me. This story has, of course, been told by my parents so many times. And years later, when I heard it again, I started thinking back on that experience and what it taught me. It wasn't the product that people was buying, it was the experience. And that's truer more than now and than ever. And brands are competing against each other across the world about people's attention by offering the coolest and most innovative experiences. We, however, are a minimalistic Scandinavian watch brand, so blinking robots and store full of screens looking like Times Square isn't aligned with our brand image. So the experience we have focused on is service and giving everyone an amazing customer experience that exceeds their expectations. All that sounds simple, but the challenge we have faced is how do you make this happen worldwide without building your own or buying an app that needs 12 people to update? I studied programming back in the days, but today I can't even set my alarm. So luckily for me, I bumped into my colleague Fredrik, and we started talking about what we need from a behavior perspective and what tool do we need to help us reach our high expectations. So the challenge faced in retail is that communication is often too long and too slow and not in line in how people in stores consume information. COVID and travel restriction hasn't helped that either. Another challenge we faced was time. Our brand is built around influencer marketing, and our strong growth was powered by our rapid speed to reach 5 million followers on Instagram. Each launch we do is done together with a huge push in social media. This often gives us and the influencers a short time period to both produce the content, but also even less time to collect it and use it internally. The third challenge we have as a fast-growing company has been that we are not known in all the markets that we're in. So building trust with new customers discovering us for the first time when they walk into a store has been a huge challenge. So how can we reach out to all staff across 27 markets just in time for our launch and at the same time help them to build trust? The solution we came up with was web clips, because it has helped us to quickly spread the information in a simple way in an environment used by most of our staff already. We have used web clips as it's so easy to use, and our social team can now use it to gather the material from the content creators and share with our store staff in a nice presentation in less than seconds. The influencer content is shown during the sales process to show how to style the product. But also, as you can imagine, they might not know us yet, but seeing our styles on their favorite influencers that they already know helps to build that trust and helps them to convert to existing customers at the first visit. Besides that, it has also helped us to show the full look and drive up the value of every average transaction order. And this is one of the key KPIs for us, as traffic has been limited during the COVID. Web clips has also helped us with launches and training, visual guidelines, and other types of materials that we want to share across the world. The first training that we did was to boost our staff happiness, and 90% of our staff answered that the motivation training helped them to stay positive during the worst peaks of COVID. We have also used Power Apps to build a digital checklist that can be used as a scorecard and help us to follow up all our trainings and materials shared through web clips. Our sales training app has helped us to improve our units per transactions with 25% during the first 6 months. So besides looking and feeling great, it had also helped us to drive the business performance. And one of the best parts with this tool is that it's the perfect way to utilize the Microsoft tools and programs, tools that everyone in our retail team is already familiar with, but at the same time give it a nice look and usability as it was our own application. The fact that we can use these tools already makes it accessible for everyone in our team, and even the people that can't set the alarm on their watches. So as we're trying constantly to improve, we have just launched our new retail onboarding that is using the Sway and the Microsoft Forms, but making it look and work as it was a top-of-the-line purpose-built application. We have also used this to host a digital conference with our 1,500 colleagues across the world, but keeping them in the comfort of their own store and home and at the time that is most convenient for them. And what's so amazing with this is this fast-moving world we are living in, information is more important than ever. And to keep your retail staff knowledgeable and make sure that they have everything they need to make the best decision and create the best experience. And I would say that these tools have really helped us to share information by simplifying content creation and how to consume the information, which has given our staff more confidence, empowerment, and motivation to make sure that they always deliver the best customer experience. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Oscar, for sharing all your insights about from the retail team and the use of web clips in our environment. And I truly think that this highlights the idea that we're striving for, which is collaboration across departments. Just by having a cup of coffee with Oscar, we built these tools that truly empower our retail staff. And I think communicating internally about the tools you have at your disposal can truly inspire colleagues and coworkers to think differently on how they create and build content for for the entire company. And with that, I want to close off this session and hope you enjoyed it. And thank you all for listening.